Welcome back to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland show. It's our second episode, and joining us on the show this week is Shelbourne's Saoirse Noonan as we look ahead to the start of the Women's National League. Also, Stuart Hayden, who is Technical Director of Coerver Coaching in Ireland, to discuss their partner club programme, and Stuart and his team were recently working with Shamrock Rovers underage teams. On the panel, we discuss EIR Sport, LOITV, playing out from the back, and of course, a quick look back at the weekend's results. Now, there's only two things that you need to do now. Subscribe and enjoy the show. Welcome to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland show. We're joined on the panel by Nathan Doyle and Niamh McGee. And we're going to just quickly look over the weekend. It's great to have the League of Ireland back. Nathan, well, actually, no, I'm going to go with Niamh because Niamh, Sligo Rovers and Dundalk, you've got the red blood. I hope it's red anyhow. What did you think of the game?
Very, very impressive. I was really impressed our side, to be honest. Bulger specifically stood out to me. Great signing. I was really impressed with him. The only negative was Ed McGinty. He made a few kind of sloppy passes very close to the defenders, and then that caused a goal in our half. But bar that, very impressive, and I'm absolutely delighted. It really should have been a win to us with that offside goal, but that's up for debate, I suppose. But it was a stunning goal all the same. Who
stood out for you, Nathan?
Yeah, I suppose picking up from the offside goal, I felt for Johnny Kenny. It would have been great for the young lad to get a goal in his debut. Really impressed me, really did, I have to say. You know, a lad 17 years of age, he wasn't afraid, you know, he didn't go hiding, didn't go missing, and he put it up to the big lads. There's a couple of bitey little moments, you know, he was getting in the face of Andy Boyle and Sonny Masted. And it was great to see, you know, from a lad his age. And I was really impressed with young Johnny Kenny. I suppose you could say the same about Jordan Gibson. He really impressed me coming from St. Pat's. He was very lively down the right-hand side. He could have scored a goal. He had a big opportunity late in the first half. Just hit the post, which I think that really was a massive opportunity for Sligo to take the lead. So yeah, it's just, I say Jordan Gibson, Johnny Kenny, and Romeo Parks, in fairness as well. I thought were the three that done well. You could name more people, like John Matton as well, another one that had an absolutely superb game. So yeah, great performance by Sligo Rovers.
I was looking at the game. I think we all picked that game to watch because it was so intriguing. Gibson, Kenny, I thought the two of them were standout. I thought they were standout for all the games that I've watched over the weekend. I thought the two of them were excellent. Parks, of course, scored. It was a great header. But Niamh, Sligo, we talked about them on our show before last week. We talked about, you put up an article about them as well, talking them up, really. I don't think anyone can say that now. I mean, they do look like they could be part of that top four that's going to really push.
They do look very threatening, though, don't they? I mean, especially that forward line, the link up between those few players that Nathan mentioned there a few minutes ago. Even our midfield, it's really improved. Moran's still there, but we got those extra signees as well. I do think we're very threatening, like, not to be biased, but I do see us battling up for number 3. I'm going to go with 3 or 4.
Oh, changing.
Definitely.
Yeah, change it. Yeah, next week could be 2. Climbing up that ladder.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Nathan, Dundalk. What did you make of their performance? Because we're looking at them, you're thinking these are going to challenge. They think they're going to challenge, and they should very well do. But they're not looking as fluid. I'm not seeing the fluidness in them that I thought I would see from a team that have, I suppose, gone out of their way to get the best of what they thought they could get abroad.
Yeah, it was going to be a difficult performance, and I think we all said that it was never going to be an easy game for Dundalk going to the showgrounds. It's always sort of a bogey venue for them. But yeah, with it winning in a lot of players that they did, a lot of players from outside of the league too, it's going to take a while for them to gel. And I think that was really evident on the night. Like, we seen the play against Shamrock Rovers in the President's Cup, and even then there was nothing too dangerous. But yeah, looking at them against Sligo Rovers, I think it will take a while for them to gel. We're seeing Michael Duffy too coming off the bench. Like, he is now, with Jack Bourne gone out of the league, in my opinion, Michael Duffy is probably the best player in the league now. So they need to be looking to get him back into the starting 11 as quick as possible. But yeah, it was going to take a while for them to gel, I think, because the likes of Patrick Hoban was very quiet. He's a guy that he had 1 or 2 half chances that he missed, and it take him a while to get off the mark, and it take him a while to get going and to form this partnership with the new players that came into the team. So yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's going to take them a little while to gel together and get the likes of Michael Duffy back. If we're going to be talking about positives, I thought Patrick McElhaney had a decent game for the Dock, and I was a bit surprised when I seen him getting taken off as early as he did.
Yeah, when you look at the two games after, I suppose at the same time, they were on at 6 o'clock. Longford Town beating Derry City 2-0. Finn Harps beating Bows. We were predicting Longford to get relegated. Nathan predicting Bows to come third. This just went totally against everything that we thought, Niamh.
Yeah, there weren't the results I don't think anyone was expecting. Very surprised at Longford, especially against Derry. Would have expected them to have a loss there, but really impressive play, especially for Grimes, I thought. And it did take a good 20 minutes, really, for Derry to come back to get any sort of chances. So Longford, I think, dominated that game, which wasn't really what I was expecting.
Yeah. When you look at, say, Derry City now, that, Nathan, it hasn't been a good last season. They've been rocky. They've been, kind of, the eye is on Declan Devine now. That doesn't mean he's under pressure, but I'm sure he looks at this result and goes, well, I could have done with a win here. That could have got me going. People forgetting about what happened last year. But it kind of just stores up the memories of last year. And he's going to be under a little bit of pressure in the next few games just to get that sort of, I suppose, positivity behind him.
Yeah, no, nail on the head there. There was themselves, Derry City and St. Pat's were probably one of the two most underperforming sides of 2020. So, and there was a little bit of unrest towards the end of the season. Like I don't think Declan Devine would be under any pressure, and no, we should be. It's far too early in the season. But there was a little bit of unrest in the club, and you just had a little quick look online towards the back end of last season. There was some Derry City fans starting to get a bit uneasy with the style of play at Derry last year, and we said it a few times last season, Roy, that you'd always sort of expect Derry to come out and play a nice, attractive style of play, and it just wasn't really there last year. It just didn't really click. And by all accounts, it was the same against Longford. They were just outclassed completely, which just was not expected. So yeah, they'll be looking to get going. I'm not sure off the top of my head who'll be having the next game. I'm sure we'll have a little check now. But yeah, they'll be under massive pressure now to just pick up 3 points, just to get themselves going, especially now with their fourth home game coming up. It's against Shamrock Rovers. It just came into my head. I knew it was in there somewhere. So yeah, they're playing Shamrock Rovers up their fourth home game of the season, which, look, that's going to be a very difficult start. So it's yeah, look, you could be looking at 2 defeats back to back to start the campaign, which will be far from ideal for Derry City.
Yeah, my phone just buzzed. That must be Declan Devine on to me. Finn Harps beat Bohemians. Niamh, I suppose we always know when you go up there against Finn Harps, you're not going to have an easy game. Ollie Horgan's either going to get a yellow card or a red card. That happened. Not the red this time, but he got his yellow card. It's mandatory, it seems like. But you did expect Bows to, well, again, we talked about they need to sort of push on a little bit, Bows, this year. Not that there's pressure on them to win the league, but you still think, are they going to close the gap a little bit? Is there that progression? This is a great result for Finn Harp so early in the season.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're really expecting Bows to kind of be up in the top few. This was another surprising result, I think. And I was just reading up a few articles on it and looking at the highlights, but Bows seemed to really dominate that game. So it's quite surprising that they never came back and got another goal to equalise. They really took over most of the game. And I think the goal was in like the 38th minute. But Bows really tore into them in the second half. They were very rough and violent as well. Lots of tackles, but still never got something in the end. So I was quite surprised that they never came back, because Bows, they're one of those teams that once you get one on them, they'll get one back on you in the next few minutes. They can be like that, So
maybe that says an awful lot about how Finn Harps have been coached now this season. They've obviously been able to shut shop, make it harder for teams to get through them, where you mightn't have seen that before. It's a great start for them, and if they can pick up points, they play Dundalk away in their next game, so that's a tricky one. But if they got something out of that game, and Dundalk aren't exactly firing on all cylinders, so I mean that there's possibilities left, right, and centre for Finn Harps, but that's 3 points on what they would have probably targeted at the start of the season down. So that's a great start for them.
Booster as well.
Oh yeah, huge, huge. The games on Friday night, Shamrock Rovers. Nathan, we'll go with you. Shamrock Rovers and St. Pat's. This was the game we talked about on the big kickoff League of Ireland Sports Bar on Friday night. If you're having a look, every Friday night we'll be looking at the games that are on, and we'll be talking live on YouTube, and of course it'll be on our Facebook channel as well. But Nathan, Pats, they really showed what they are capable of this season, and to tell you the truth, there was nothing between the two of them.
No, I was very impressed. Now we have a couple of days to sort of get your head around the disappointment, obviously, with St. Pat's taking the lead so late in the game and then conceding the leads to pull it back to a 1-1 draw. So that was disappointing. But now with sort of fresher eyes and a different perspective on the game, it's hard. Like, you can't be anything as a St. Pat's fan myself. I can't be anything but impressed with the performance. I talked about over on the live stream, the fitness levels were fantastic for the first game of the season. I thought the shape was absolutely brilliant. The lads like Chris Forrester and Matty Smith, young lad V. Jarvis in goal had an absolute superb game. So there's plenty of positives to take away from me, and I think that St. Pat's will be a very, very difficult outfit for any side going forward this season. Look, you always want to keep your feet planted on the ground as a fan, and you don't want to get too carried away the first game of the season, but like, that's a Shamrock Rovers side. That's
like Neve, you mean?
Like Neve, I mean, yeah. I'm not going to be, don't get me wrong, St. Pat's are still not going to be in the top 3, but as much as, look, come here, prove me wrong, boys. Finish in the top 3. I'd like to be proven wrong, but yeah, I'll still keep my feet in the ground. I think they've still finished 4th or 5th. The squad is still a little bit thin for my liking, but yeah, very impressed with the performance against Shamrock Rovers on Friday night.
Neve, you look at Shamrock Rovers, they have lost a few players, they've got some players in. And again, it's hard to criticise Shamrock Rovers because they did play well. Maybe in the final third they could have done more. Aaron Green came on, scored, got man of the match, would you believe, from the Shamrock Rovers fan. Oh no, yeah, no, bet 8-8, or I can't remember. One of them anyhow gave man of the match. I don't know how that happened. He was only on the pitch a handful of minutes, but that shows you how important that goal was, not to lose that game. How do you, I know it's the first game, Neve, but Shamrock Rovers, how do you sum them up? And I suppose you can see a tighter league this year.
Yeah, exactly. I think it brings them back a bit, back closer to the other top 4 or 5. They're not as dominant, I don't think. They're not as threatening as they used to be. Not just with the loss of those 2 players, but just their general flow of play. Like, it's only been 1 match, but just other teams seem to be more equal in strength and fitness as well, and even set pieces and things like that. So they're not as dominant, but they're always going to be a threatening side. They're always going to be difficult, gone bad or anything like that. We'll still really struggle to play them, all of us, but they have backed down a bit, I think. More equal footing.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a little bit of them coming down and the others coming up, so they're getting that little bit closer. We watched, Nathan, of course, the game Drogheda against Waterford. That was the season opener. We talked again on Friday on the Sports Bar about it. Not much between the two teams. It very easily could have been a 0-0 draw, and unfortunately for Waterford, and OG sorted that out. But there was a few impressive performances on both sides.
There was, yeah. In fairness, James Brown. Don't make a joke, Roy. You made a joke on Friday. It's in the can now. Yeah, James Brown out on the right hand side. I talked about him a few times leading up to the game. He done well. It wasn't his best performance. I thought he got up and down the wings very well. His crossing was a little bit like less to be desired. When it came to Darragh Markey, another player that I thought was the creative spark in the midfield, and was very surprised when he was taken off as early as he was. And yeah, even for Waterford, they'd be very disappointed with the result. They thought they could have held on for a 0-0 draw. In fairness, there was a lot of games in the opening weekend that were very, very similar in terms of how tight they were, and this was definitely one of them. But they look at guys like Sibawale, Maskell, who I thought was the one of the more driving forces, especially from set plays and stuff. That's going to be a real danger with Waterford this season. They're a big physical side, and you have a guy like Maskell that can whip a ball in the way he can with his left foot. So that's going to be a real danger point for sides facing Waterford. So while it is disappointing to lose the opening game of the season, it's not like they wasn't rolled over. There was players that did impress for both sides, and look, they did have to just move on and take it and see what they can do. They're playing Sligo Rovers now on the first home game next weekend, and from what we're seeing by both sides, it's going to be another difficult game for Waterford. So they're in a similar situation to Derry City. They're going to need to start picking up points and very quickly.
Yeah, it's just fantastic to have the League of Ireland back again. That's the first week. I feel good. I knew I would, is what James Brown would say. Isn't that correct? Yeah. Listen, the Women's National League is starting this week, and we got the pleasure of talking to Saoirse Noonan. Look. Saoirse, welcome to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland show. Firstly, your name. Saoirse is, for us in Ireland, it's the easiest name in the world to pronounce. Do you get that? I suppose Saoirse Ronan got, didn't she? Got Saoirse and stuff like that. Do you get that?
Yeah, I do. I do quite a bit now, to be fair. I kind of have a joke with my friends, like I've been called everything, Safari and everything, like, so we have a good old joke about that. But yeah, it's easy for Irish people to say, they know how to say it, but it's when you go abroad they struggle, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, my name's Roy, and I get called Ray all the time. I don't know what that's all about. It's not that hard, but there you go. The only person who actually keeps calling me Roy is a fella called Ray that I know, so he obviously knows. Anyhow, we leave that one there. Funny enough, I just seen that you have a new logo out, and it kind of connects with your name. So you must be thinking of going into the clothing market, are you?
Yeah. I've kind of just set up my own little, I suppose, lockdown kind of experiment nearly. It's something that I've thought about for a long time, and then obviously from not running to match and training sessions, I had more time just to myself, and did something, I suppose, away from the football pitch. I think it's important to kind of switch off, especially when we're playing at such a high level and training weekly, and I think this was just kind of something for me that I enjoy doing. So I'm kind of in the process of launching a few of my own hoodies and stuff, and called it Freedom Clothing. Still means Saoirse, and I think that's a lot easier for people to say than Saoirse. So yeah, I just thought it sounded right.
They surely can't get that wrong.
Yeah.
A new season's upon us. You must be looking forward to it. As you said, we've been in lockdown for so long and over different periods. So to start getting some sort of football back again, it must be great.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone's ready to go now. We've had 6 good weeks of pre-season together, and definitely everyone's eager to get back on that pitch on Saturday. And last season was brilliant, and hopefully we can finish out this season and go the whole way through. Again, there's a lot of restrictions and stuff, but look, we're happy to be on the pitch, and it's great now that we have streams available for families and stuff to watch, which will boost it again.
Yeah. Republic of Ireland manager Vera Pauw, she commented on your move to Shelbourne, kind of saying that she didn't think that you needed to move to Shelbourne to get into the Republic of Ireland squad. So what determined your move from Cork to Shelbourne?
Yeah, look, I suppose you've one life, and I could stay here in Cork and play with Cork City and play GA and be the happiest person every single day. I'd be so content and enjoy myself, and that's what I did for the last 3 years. I've enjoyed playing Cork football and Cork City, and it's worked great, and I think I proved that it was possible to play both codes. And I think some people have kind of took back a step and been like, oh, now you've realised you can't really play both codes. But I think I could, and I still can if I wanted to. But again, look, you've one life, and I just wanted to try something new. I've played with Cork City since I was 16. I've only played at Douglas Hall, went straight into Women's National League with Cork City, and I'm still young, and I want to try different things. I still live at home. I want to do different things, and I think now is just the right time for me. We've had a really tough year of just doing nothing, and yeah, Shells are a brilliant club, and I think loads of girls want to play for them. So when the opportunity arose for me, and I was looking at going different places, and I kind of had thought about it in my mind, I just said, why not? Obviously, it's not ideal that I'm still playing against Cork City and stuff, because obviously they still have a place in my heart, and I still live in Cork and stuff. So, and Cork's a small place. But yeah, again, it was nothing to do with Vera. Didn't tell me to go there. Vera didn't say it was a good move, bad move. It was on my own back, and it's something that I wanted to do for myself, and take myself out of my comfort zone. That was it really, and push myself to different levels that I haven't tested, both on and off the pitch.
Yeah, I think she's thinking about the whole Ireland setup. If there's a better spread of players in the league, that the league will be a better league for it. And if a couple of the teams have all the best of players, then it mightn't be as competitive. So I think that's more of a bigger vision from Vera. Was there an indication of going elsewhere, abroad, or I heard Iceland even mentioned? Were they all rumours, or was there something in that?
Yeah, look, I signed up with George in 10 Sport management before Cup final. So kind of before that game, I kind of told him, look, he knew I was playing GA, he knew I was playing Cork City, and he kind of asked me what my goals were. And I suppose every girl that plays in the Women's National League looks at going to England and would love to go to England and play abroad. Like that's the ultimate goal, and obviously play for Ireland. So yeah, look, there was talks with a few teams in England and stuff to try go over on trials, and obviously COVID again, didn't want that to happen. And then I got an opportunity to go over and play in Reykjavik in Iceland for 3 months, and I did kind of think about it, and I was going to go, but then again, I just kind of felt it wasn't the right time for me, and I didn't want to go there personally. I just felt I'd prefer to stay here, and then Shells obviously came up, and I just felt it was a better fit for me right now with the situation I'm in and stuff, and with college. So yeah, that was what I opted for.
And Noel King is down there now as head coach. How does he differ in the management style, on the coaching, out on the pitch? How does he differ to the managers or coaches you've had before?
To be honest, he doesn't differ that much. He's very similar to the way a lot of the Irish managers would have coached us growing up. So from that point of view, that's where I can kind of, I suppose, look back at and say I kind of understand where the way he does things kind of by the book, and like a lot of international managers that I've had, Dave Connell, Dave Bell, he reminds me of those kind of managers. Really nice guy, really easygoing, and it's great fun at training. It's never too serious, but then when it gets serious, you have to tune in. And yeah, look, everyone has so much respect for him, and a good few of the girls have played for him. And I think his history tells enough on the type of guy he is. So yeah, definitely, I think again that was another factor in who doesn't want to play under Noel King. Like, so yeah, it's all going good so far, and he's a great guy.
Now, you did mention the GAA. You have played for Cork. How do you sustain that between playing elite in GAA and elite in the League of Ireland? And is it sustainable? Can you keep doing the two?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I suppose sometimes I nearly count myself lucky in the way games fall. I never really had that much clashes. I was always able to play both. And I think some people kind of go into, look, you have to recover. And yeah, recovery is extremely important. But again, it's 90 minutes in soccer. You're playing whatever, 60 minutes, 65 minutes in football. You're out training weekly for nearly 2 hours on a pitch. So your body actually, I believe your body actually is used to it. Obviously, a game, it's going to be a lot tougher. But I think when you get your mind set right and you want to do and you're enjoying it, it's a lot easier. Like there was one weekend that it was a tough weekend. We were losing, both codes, and I just felt my whole body nearly shutting down because it was my brain more than my body telling me I'm tired, I don't want to play today. But when you're winning, it's so enjoyable to be on a pitch when you're performing, and I think you know yourself that you've trained hard enough to get there. So I think that's why it is sustainable. But then again, look, I want to, I suppose, make the Irish team, and I think to make the Irish team, obviously, you have to put in that extra graft in probably one sport. I do believe if I stayed playing both and I kept pushing through, then I think I could have made the Irish team by playing both. But obviously, then you go into Irish camp, that's a week away from GA training. That doesn't work then. So that's when you have to make the step back. So that's what I'm aiming for now. Instead of leaving GA, when I made the Irish team, I felt it was better to do it beforehand and really focus and hope to get in there soon.
And I suppose if your form dips at all, people will be pointing towards it. If you haven't scored a few goals and people say you look tired, you may not even feel tired, they're going to start pointing towards it. So at some stage, they're going to use that, if you want to call it an excuse, to point at that's the reason why.
Yeah, I think you're always going to have them people, no matter how good or bad you play, they're always going to have an excuse, as you said. And I think you just need to kind of push that to the side and look at the positives. You have the great weekend and everyone's your best friend and singing your praises, and then you've the next weekend you might only have one game and not play as good, and they're going to say, sure, she's tired from the weekend before. But they can use excuses if you're playing one sport too, that you're tired or you're this or you're that. So again, it's all the one. You know your body best, and I know my body, and I'm thankful that my two coaches understood that I wanted to give 100% in both, and I was at both training sessions every week. But yeah, look, there's going to be always people that are going to be saying she's tired looking, she's this, but football was just an excuse for them. And if I'm tired looking in soccer, what are they going to say now, that I'm probably training too hard with soccer or training too much? So they're always going to find an excuse if they want to find one, and I just kind of have to push that to the side.
Are you thick-skinned? Like you be on social media now quite a bit. I don't know how much loveliness you get and how many little daggers you get, but have you found that side of things easy to deal with, tough to deal with? How do you find that?
Yeah, look, I suppose, again, I count myself lucky. I haven't got that much, I suppose, negativity towards me. But I suppose every bit you do get, you definitely look into a lot more than the positives, which can be tough at times. But again, I think I just kind of, when I suppose things are going well and your social media's blowing up after a big game or something, I try not to zone too much in on that, because I think then when it's the opposite, you zone too much in on that. So if you kind of just keep, I suppose, a level head nearly in both aspects, try find that balance. It's easier said than done, and everyone will vary. There's some things that people say and it's going to stick with you forever nearly, and it could only be something small. And I definitely have a few of those, but I just try to use them as, I suppose, fire, and to prove a point and prove them wrong. So yeah, that's how I try to look at it. I try to take the positives from everything, good and bad.
Do you find that other girls wouldn't deal with it as well, or what way does that work? Do you talk about
it? No, look, I suppose, like an example, like when I suppose Vera kind of saying if she didn't know I should have moved to Shells, I suppose that's the Irish manager talking, and everyone wants to impress her. And a few of the girls kind of said it to me quietly, what did you think of that? And just what were your opinions on it, and how did you feel about it? But these things are going to happen, and I do think some girls probably take it more to heart. But at the end of the day, like we're all human, and we all we're never going to be perfect, and we might say things that we don't mean in different ways, or people might take it in different ways, and we just have to learn from that and move on. But yeah, look, I do think some girls unfortunately take it definitely more to heart and hold on to it instead of just brushing it to the side. But again, everyone's different, and that's just a learning process that we all have to go through.
Yeah. The two codes, very interested to see what way in preparation, recovery, even in your training, how do they differ between the GAA and the League of Ireland? And how do you find it? And is there anything in the two codes that you would like to see one take and another take, if you know what I mean, little pieces that they could take each that would benefit them?
Yeah, I suppose in recovery, I think they're nearly the same. I suppose we train a lot more, we'd be a lot more on the pitch for soccer. And then I suppose the sessions will be probably a bit more harder, I suppose, in a way to say. They wouldn't be as long. There'll be a lot of set pieces in soccer sessions and stuff during the week, whereas you always have that one, I suppose, gruesome session with the GAA that takes that extra bit of recovery. But I think they're both fairly similar. With the GAA, we get fed after every training session, and I think that's extremely important, and it's something that definitely needs to come into soccer, because it's not. It is important to eat and refuel your body right after training sessions, and people just don't have time nearly. So by having that on Wednesdays and Sundays was really helpful for me, definitely, and a lot of the girls that have to travel far and stuff. So that is probably the main thing that I would like to see to come into the soccer environment, and everything else is pretty much similar. All players are well looked after with physios and stuff, so that's good to see. And I think Women's National League is only growing, and I do think it'll definitely keep growing in the next 2 to 3 years.
Niamh, the League of Ireland has always, with the first division, has always, struggled with trying to market it and promote it. The Women's National League has even less than that now. So it's good to see that both of them are on LOITV. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Women's National League, to get familiar with more players. We only see them when it's the cup final, really. So, or a couple of highlights that you'll see on the club pages. But now we're going to get to see the players that are out there and what talent is actually out there. So it will be interesting. If it's free, everyone's going to be, taking a peek in. I think if there's a charge on it, I'm not sure that it's going to get the people to watch it. I think they've got to drip feed this.
Yeah, I mean, putting a charge on something that's brand new, there's never really been the Women's League coverage before. It's just going to turn people off. It's going to put people off. And this kind of, the whole thing being in the dark a week before it starts, that kind of lack of solidity doesn't look very good. It doesn't make the Women's League look very professional, even though they are quite professional and they're very impressive at playing football as well. It doesn't kind of set up a good startup for them. So I feel bad for the women's teams, to be honest, that this is the way their fans are left. Like, I'd follow them and I watch them, but we're kind of left in the dark now. We don't know what's going on. But I think it'd be bad for them to put a charge on it. You can't expect people to pay without getting a taster of it first, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. Nathan, it looks like EIR Sport is no more. What do we know about it? What's the story behind it? Is it definitely 100% nailed in the coffin? What's going on?
Yeah, so I put my little journalistic cap on. It doesn't come out too often, so I decided that I'll put it on for this one. So yeah, just a couple of facts that we do know about EIR Sport is that they haven't participated in the latest auction for sporting rights. So pretty much that means they're going to be out with the live sports broadcasting for the at least the foreseeable future. So that obviously is going to put a lot of doubt over the future of EIR Sports. It's a channel that, that's what it is. You need live sports broadcasting to survive. So EIR has put this down to, obviously, COVID-19. It's affecting everybody. It's affecting every medium, really. So they blamed it on COVID-19 and the closure of pubs, because obviously that's a lot of people are going to be going to the pubs to watch the games and things like that. But it's also, obviously, like everything else, it comes down to finances. EIR's revenue has been slashed in half coming into the last 6 months of 2020. So that's a massive financial hit for them going forward if they do want to be getting sporting rights to live games and live tournaments and things like that. Also, the revenue fell from 22 million down to 12 million due to COVID and things like that. So financial issues have been a big problem for EIR Sports over the past 6 months in particular, and it hasn't been helped either. They went through a lawsuit with Virgin Media. I believe it's still ongoing. Virgin Media failed. It's due to a failed payment agreement. So pretty much EIR allegedly still owes Virgin Media €2.5 million because both channels have they came to some sort of agreement together. I'm sure there's better terminology, but to make it pretty much simple for myself, they came to an agreement together that both channels, I have it written down here, that both broadcasters would pretty much they'd plug each other's channels on their platforms and things of that nature. So it's obviously an agreement that didn't work out. As you can tell, I'm not a court reporter, but yeah, it's an agreement that didn't work out, and EIR Sports allegedly still owes Virgin Media a large sum of money. So yeah, it's definitely worrying times for EIR Sports, and worrying times for the League of Ireland too, because I always found our League of Ireland coverage to be second to none. I always thought he showed more of an interest than RTE in terms of showing games and the variety of games too. Like RTE always tend to show like Shamrock Rovers, Bohemians, Dundalk, these sort of things. Where you look at EIR Sports, they travel to Sligo, they travel to Waterford, they travel to Derry. So there was always a good variety of games. There's always a better interest in terms of getting the games, and always a better promotion even of the games when they were showing them. So yeah, as a League of Ireland fan, it is disappointing to see.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's not much more you can say about that, but you're kind of hoping that it does resolve itself in some way, or something can be worked out together, because you need as much coverage as possible. And Ayr was one of those who was given, as you said, a good coverage of it. So it's very disappointing news to hear. Niamh, playing out from the back, the reason we brought this topic up is because we've seen it in the Sligo Rovers game. Dundalk were persistent at trying to play this ball out from the back, even though they were being pressed high. It just makes no sense. And we see it now with people being coached at younger age, kids being coached at a younger age. You have to play out from the back. You have to play out from the back. You're shooting yourself in the foot, aren't you? And I don't understand it. There has to be a mix in your play, because then you're too predictable.
Yeah, and I think that's what gave away the goal as well. It was the goalkeeper just playing out from the back nice and short, and then the attacker got in straight away. I think it's too risky. I've noticed that as well in like Premier League games. It's not just the League of Ireland. It seems to be a common way of playing now, is to play the game from the goalkeeper, short passes out and then move it up. You know, the goalkeeper giving a long pass out or chipping it out to the front or to the midfield, that doesn't seem too common anymore. I suppose it is more precise to just pass it close, but you might have 2 or 3 of your defenders there, but you also have 2 or 3 of their opposite attackers. So it's quite a risky game to play, and they need to be very careful. And the other thing as well is keepers running out quite far. I've noticed that as well. Even Sligo Rovers McGinty, he does that. He does it very well, to be fair to him, but it's very easy to have a slip up and someone get in behind you. Next thing you know, you're a few metres from your goal and you can't get back in time. So it's a very dangerous game to play, but it's become very common as well.
Yeah, I think it's needed from the keepers to come out, because they're pressing so high. They're squeezing them, trying to play out from the back. So if the ball does go long, that you have a keeper there that can sweep up after him. But Nathan, and you need to be good though. So your keeper needs to be solid and reliable. Yeah. And as you said before, McGinty has been solid and reliable. He did look a little wobbly at the weekend, but you don't take that away from him. That's a one-off. Nathan, playing out from the back, I can never understand why they persist on forcing the playing out from the back. It's a knowledgeable way to play if you and it makes common sense if every now and again that you get the ball and you'll ping it a little bit longer to push their forward press back a little bit. You know, don't let them know that that's exactly what you're going to be doing every single time. But it seems to be that's exactly what's happening. They know that they're going to play it out from the back all the time. You're taking risks. And we've seen it, as Niamh said before, in all types of different football, that we've seen more and more goals coming from mistakes like this.
Yeah, it's actually an obsession in the game the past couple of years. It really, really is. Because you can see sides like Manchester City doing there, what Barcelona back when Pep Guardiola was the manager of Barcelona. And I'm not blaming Pep Guardiola for bringing in past playing up in the back. But you see sides of this level doing it and doing it successfully. And it doesn't always, even at that level, it doesn't always work. But it's, like I said, it's become so repetitive where it's almost expected now, you know, where, like, you see, you get, like, there's the goalkeeper's taking a kick out and the whole team presses forward and just instantly puts pressure on the defenders because they're almost expecting to get the ball. And most, like, not saying most centre-halves, but there is a good chunk of centre-halves that just aren't comfortable with the ball at their feet. Like, again, just to point out one person, even in the Premier League, the highest level, you see a guy like Harry Maguire, who wouldn't be the most comfortable player with the ball at his feet, and he still does an obsession on getting the ball, playing to him, and starting out from the back, where if your player isn't comfortable with doing it, that's where the mistakes leak in. And that's where we've seen it over the weekend, you know, like, again, with the Sligo Rovers goal, McGinty put Greg Bolger in an awful lot of trouble, and Bolger's a guy that's very, very comfortable with the ball at his feet, but in a situation like that where Dundalk are pressing high and they're looking to win the ball back in those areas, it just shouldn't be doing it. Just play it smart, just hit it out, not out to Rose Ed, but there's always look out for your winners as well, like you can pin it out to them, and you're just putting yourself in a lot of danger in most of these situations. You know, it's not to say you should never do it. There is times you can do it, and there's times where you can see it's a good time to do it, but doing it every time there's a goal kick, you know, opposition teams, they clock on to what's going on and they're just going to instantly pressure you, and that's where the mistakes come from. And it's something that, you know, it doesn't need to be knocked out of the game, but it's something that needs to be done less and needs to be done in the better opportunities when they present themselves. Yeah,
so it's something going to be, people are going to be looking at strongly. If Dundalk keep doing that, it's a weakness, and it's going to be exploited very, very easy, I think, this year if they keep persisting on it. So one of the other things that we talked about is players in a forward position. We don't have too many players going by players. It's very mechanical. The final third is a problem. And this links into our next interview, which is with Coerver coach, and who are looking to develop technical players, better technical players, players that are more comfortable. And they have designed a program called a Coerver Partner Club Program. And Stuart Hayden is on with me in an interview to talk about it. Stuart, welcome to the Big Kickoff League of Ireland show. Delighted to have you on. Stuart is with Coerver coaching Ireland and Leinster. What way does that work, Stuart?
Yeah, Ireland, basically technical director for Coerver in Ireland. Yeah, we won't disregard Ulster as well, Northern Ireland. So the whole Republic.
How long has Coerver coaching been going here in Ireland?
We're coming up on our 8th year in Ireland. I've been involved. I was here in a smaller capacity in a couple of centres around the country previous to that. But my own involvement has been 7 years just in Leinster, and then more recently then in Connacht and Northern Ireland. Yeah, and we've Jason then who will manage Munster.
Right. So I've known Coerver probably since it's been here. I'm a big believer in it. I think there's a lot of people who are believers in it, and there's a lot of people who don't know much about it. So just give me a 30 seconds synopsis, I suppose, of what Coerver is about.
Yeah, it was devised by a Dutch coach called Will Coerver, and then together with Charlie Cook, who ex-Scottish international player for Chelsea, and Alf Galuston, founded the company in 1984. Initially founded on the principle that skill is not inherent. You're not born with these amazing skills. You know, they can be taught. They devised the ball mastery curriculum initially just to train young players and coaches. And then it's grown and it's evolved over its 37-year history now that it's in 52 countries worldwide. You know, we've worked with 17 federations, including the French Football Federation, the English FA, you know, Scottish FA, and clubs like Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Manchester City, Leicester, you know, just to name a few. So it's a huge program globally. You know, so it's not something that's just cropped up overnight.
No, it's a long time going, and it's a long time being developed and continuously developed as well. It's not something that's been there for 30 years and is dating or being out of date. Now, you wanted to talk about the Coerver Partner Club program that you have together. I think we'll just have a little look and see what this is all about.
Hi, I'm Stuart Hayden, Technical Director for Coerver Coaching in Ireland. We've designed a unique online coaching platform for Irish grassroots clubs and coaches to ensure high quality sessions are delivered every time. This extensive technical skills program is aimed at coaches working with 4 to 6, 7 to 10 and 11 to 15 year olds, and is based on Coerver's pyramid of player development, incorporating all of our key core game skills. The Coerver Partner Club platform has everything a club needs to deliver its sessions for an entire season. Each session is professionally filmed, printable session planners, video homework for players, head coach and expert Zoom sessions.
Now that gives everyone a bit of a taste of what Coerver is about, what your partner club program's about. I do see an awful lot of clubs that have UEFA A, B and B licensed coaches, and it's been advertised as, I suppose, implying that because they have a UEFA A and UEFA B badges, that this is probably a great academy or whatever club or whatever like that. Mostly the academy I'm talking about. That's not always the way. That those badges, they're not technically made for that age group. So why is Coerver so good for the age group? I suppose not just for, and it does go up to the 14s, 15s, 16s, but why is it so good for the younger age groups?
Yeah, our history and the development of the curriculum, has focuses on these golden ages of learning. So our programs are structured to, first of all, at 4 to 6 or 4 to 7 year olds, depending on when you come in, is to give them a foundation through a first skills program. So as you said, you're doing your A license or your B license. It's about how the game should be played, and formations and where players move. But to get into that, you have to have some level of core skill. You've got to be able to control the ball. You've got to be able to pass the ball. You've got to be a 1v1 player. So with our program, we introduce core game skills to players, but done in a fun environment where we're not coaching these kids. We want to develop young players who love the game and want to stay with the game. So through our first skills program, if we can create that environment and if we can help clubs do that, you now have a foundation, or you have your conveyor belt system just ready and starting for your club. So you've got a good foundation, because if you don't have young players coming in, your club doesn't have players. How do you get 7, 8s and 9s? How do you get teams if you haven't got an academy, and if the structure is not correct?
So I hear a lot of people as well. I read up stuff just because I wanted to look at both sides of the argument here. I've seen articles about people saying, well, Coerver haven't got it all matched up. The players like Maradona, Pele, and Cruyff and all, they never had Coerver. These were brilliant players. It's a different era now, isn't it? I mean, there's not as many kids out playing football now, so their time obtaining these skills have been lowered dramatically.
Yeah. Again, the whole, I suppose, street footballer is gone. Losing green spaces. Kids don't go out as much. It's no different to, learning to play the piano or the guitar. You don't just pick it up and practice it. You're not going to learn it in doing 12 minutes every week. So our program, what our program has done, it's devised a curriculum that can teach inexperienced coaches to give high quality technical sessions to young players, and to structure it that they would get maximum time on the ball. Like, you've been to plenty of sessions through the years, and I've been there myself, and you walk in, you see kids touch the ball for 15 minutes in an hour, and it's frightening. So with the program, especially at the younger ages, we're looking for 50 minutes of coaching time in an hour. And if you stick to the curriculum and to the timings within the sessions and the sessions themselves, you're guaranteed to get that. So now all of a sudden you've got a kid who's touching the ball for 55 minutes in an hour, as opposed to 10 or 15 or standing in a bus queue. So players are going to develop, and if you're doing that 2-3 times a week, plus with the homework that you give them, to learn these skills at home and to practice them, you're going to develop better players.
Okay, so one of the arguments is Coerver is just about, you call it ball mastery, but they're calling it just about flicks and tricks.
Yeah, a huge misconception, and kind of the bane of my life sometimes when you go in to speak to players. It is aimed at grassroots, because grassroots players and coaches make up 99% of the game. But as we always show coaches when they come in, or clubs when they take part in a coach education, this is actually delivered at professional clubs like Benfica. Juventus was the last club that Alf went in and worked in before lockdown. These guys are ingraining this into their academy structure, and right up to their first team. I've been lucky enough, I've been across in Lisbon, and I've seen that the B team and the A team actually do these drills, because to quote Alex Ferguson, you're never too old to improve your technical skills development. And when they signed, if I use Ronaldo, they signed Ronaldo at 19, and they brought Rennie Mulstein in just to do technical training with Ronaldo. So you can improve through repetition. And I suppose I've a better touch now as a coach than I did when I was playing, because you're practicing these moves all the time. You're constantly touching the ball when you're out coaching.
Yeah. So when you're doing, obviously you do 1v1s, you do 2v2s, 3v3s, you're doing all that. So of course, you want the younger players to get as many touches on the ball as possible, give them every opportunity to win a ball back. If that's in a 5v5, 6v6, it's a harder situation to get the ball back. Then they may not get a touch of the ball for an eternity. So, but when you move up the years and you're going up to under 12s, under 13s, how does Coerver How is that designed there?
Yeah, so after you move out of your academy, we then look at players that would be aged coming into organised football, say from 7 or 8 up to let's say under 12s. Now, what we do within that age is to look at improving their core game skills or their technical skills. So we now try and improve them technically, so they have some ability to beat a player left side and right side, to pass with their left foot and right foot, to receive it, to be able to twist and turn, or to offload the ball either side of the pitch. Because obviously as you go up the levels, you come up against better players who can read the game and defend a little bit better. And then what happens is, now that we've worked that with those players, when we get to say U13s up, you're now showing them where technical players now improve the team. So if you've got technical players that can control the ball, receive a ball, you can implement any style. And we actually have a curriculum then for that advanced level 2, which is called the box trap. So it's aimed at fast break attack, pressing to win the ball. So currently where football is, so it's that kind of Manchester City, that Bayern Munich model where you hunt in packs. What happens when you win it back? We don't want to stand and play 305 passes. We want to win the ball, and we want to get into the opponent's third as quick as we can and try and score.
Okay, so you go into those type of games. We might have a little look at a clip here. You might talk us through. This is I think it's a 4v4. You talk your way through it and explain how you would coach this situation.
Yeah, so this is from one of our sessions. In here, it's a group play game. So the idea here is we've introduced certain skills beforehand, and we've had limited pressure 1v1, where the players are looking to get their eyes up, to receive on the turn, and to play quickly under pressure. So in here, the guys that are in possession have 2 bounce outside. We put a limit on the outside players as well. They've got to play quickly. So the guys inside are always under pressure to play or to be aware of what's happening in the game. But what we also do is, in our drills, we're also working on defending as well when we're attacking. So the 2 players that don't have the ball, they've got to get nice and close. We don't want them to get split. We want them to block off passing lanes. So again, we're always working on that as well. And when the roles reverse, then exactly, so you lose the ball. So again, a lot of our stuff that what we would do, especially in our group play and our condition games, is turnovers or transitions. So we're constantly working on that, because that's how we want our players to play. Okay.
Second clip. Again, explain this. I'll talk through it here. You've got 4 separate goals. It's a 3v3 plus 4 on the outside. What's the thought behind having 4 different options for goals, for shooting them?
Yeah, so here, this is with the younger players, but it's the same topic as the session before. What we want is young players, when they receive it, to know the environment, to look around them. So now we're encouraging the players to be multi-directional. So rather than being fixed on just one goal, the players here can open up and they can receive a touch now automatically, because they know there's 4 targets. So they're not stuck focusing one way all the time on one goal. Like you see the player here, they should be able to open up after they make a pass in any 4 directions, because they can score. And again, encouraging our players, can you see where all the 4 defenders are, the 3 defenders in the game? Can you open up away from them really quickly with one touch? Can you get in a position behind the defenders, play off their shoulder? So they can open up all the time. So the whole idea of the 4 goals is it makes the game multi-directional rather than just playing towards one target, where we're just training one skill or one skill set. In here, they have to look all around.
Okay. What about speed, agility, quickness? Is there anything designed in the Coerver way to work on that?
Yes. So our sessions are broke down into 5 segments. So obviously we spend a lot of time in our warm-ups on our ball mastery, so on our moves, our 1v1 game moves. So we'd warm up that way, but we always have a speed drill in there. So again, it might be from a defender, getting away from a defender, or pressing really quickly. So we always spend probably 10% of our session working on speed. And that can be speed with the ball or without the ball. We always try and encourage, especially the older players, to do it with the ball. But again, with a younger player, you might have to show them this is the move, this is the action. Now repeat it with the ball. So again, yeah, everything is designed that we do specifically work on speed, you know, and encourage our players to try and develop that. So it's mental speed as well, and physical speed. It's not just, you know, running through ladders. It's being able to know when to use the move and when not to use the move, or when to make the pass. So again, our players will become quicker because they're playing in smaller, tighter areas, but they also become mentally quicker as well. So they can play a little bit faster. And then obviously putting a little bit more pressure on them now. So we try and encourage them through what we call the skills bridge. We show them the skill, we train the skill, and then we want to see them do it. So that's in a 1v1 situation. So again, in full pressure. And then we move into group play, where it's a scenario in a game. It might be a 3v2 in midfield, or it might be a 2v2 out wide. So where you use that move in that part of the game. And then we go into a conditioned game where, you know, we'll actually see have those players learned, has everybody in the group learned by actually implementing what we've done in the 4 previous drills in the conditioned game.
That was Stuart, Hayden and Coerver coaching. And I really do think that clubs, academies need to start looking in their direction and at their methods to improve the technical ability of our younger players. Now, the full interview with Stuart will be up in a couple of days. And don't forget, we need you to subscribe. It'll help us get the best content out there, and it'll help us keep promoting the League of Ireland and Irish football. See you next week.